Welcome back, Mistakes listeners. This is Dave, and this is episode 59. We're getting so close to 60 episodes. We recorded this episode on March 7th, 2016. And, of course, we are now in the new era of format change. And this week we actually discussed the topic, Should I Lie to My Children? Guess you'll have to tune in and find out. As you know, you can follow us on Twitter at Parent Mistakes. You can also like us on Facebook at Parenting Mistakes. You can email us directly at parentingmistakes@hotmail.com. And as always, sit back and enjoy the show. So, it's been a confusing week for Dad Dave, or Dave the Dad. Yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Share with me your confusion, my son.
Let me talk to Todd the Dad. But I actually, I'm gonna put a little bit of a caveat on this, like an overall arching kind of like statement, which would be this: what I'm about to tell you and the audience is current and is not resolved. And I don't know if I'm going to have any resolve for it, say, at the end of this episode or at the end of this week. I'm hoping that there is going to be resolved soon.
So it's a cliffhanger.
It is. And I'd be curious to see what people might say or respond to as they hear this episode. Because I'm kind of open to your suggestion at this point. And I'm willing to learn and grow, which is what this show is all about, right?
It is.
I don't think, that's always sort of a public announcement or a public service announcement, which is Todd and I don't claim to know it all, right? It's never been that way. Well, so we are getting into this week's topic right off the bat, which is, and I broached this subject with Todd in the pre-show, that is, do you lie to your children? Are there occasions in which you do not tell them the truth, that you just bold-faced say, hey, I am not going to tell you the truth? That is how we're going to approach this. And I'm sure there's many, many different shades here. Or possibly black and white. I don't know. So here I go into my story.
Okay.
My eldest, Kayleen, who is all of 6 years old, has gotten very into this collectible miniature toy called Shopkins. Have you heard about Shopkins?
You've told me a little bit about Shopkins.
Okay, so you have heard Shopkins via me. Well, what's interesting about Shopkins is that as they have grown over the past 3 years, they become even more and more sought after and even more collectible. And you go onto YouTube right now, you can see multiple people opening up Shopkins at any given time saying, oh, I got this particular rare one. Oh, I got another duplicate. Are you willing to trade me? There's all sorts of trade going on with this. So what you should understand about Shopkins is that when you receive a basket of Shopkins, they come in what they call a blind bag. You do not know what you're going to get. If you go to the store per se and say, I want to buy Mickey Mouse, you can find a Mickey Mouse doll and get that. In Shopkins, you see a basket, but you do not know what Shopkins you're going to get. All right? So what they do to even make it more enticing is that there are some Shopkins within these baskets that are much more rarer than others.
Okay.
Okay? So I might open up a basket and I might have just some commons that I already have. That's just the risk that I take. I might open it and I could find a limited edition, which is the ultimate one that you can find. All right? 2 weeks ago, my daughter got a blind bag. She bought it. She went to Target with her own money, her own allowance, and she got a blind bag and brought it home. And when she opened it, she discovered that she had found a limited edition. All right? So immediately I went online to see, on eBay, just to see where people had valued this thing, and it was valued at $900. She had purchased a Shopkin for $3, and upon opening it, and it actually comes with a special certificate that comes with it, it ends up being $900. It's probably one of the most sought after Shopkins that you can get. right? And this is not just kids, this is adults too, right? It's kind of this growing fan base of, I gotta catch them all. Kind of like Pokemon, right? So now she has a $900 Shopkin. Well, in my world, I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to take it away from her. All these things go through my brain, all right? But for her, there was a level of anxiety that suddenly came with this particular Shopkin. And so she started really becoming very possessive of it. And she wasn't really taking care of it. But then the minute she'd lose it, because she's 6, right? She places it somewhere. She would lose it. She'd come back to me and she'd be in a panic. Oh, Dad, I've lost the most precious, amazing Shopkin there ever was to find. All right. So she goes to Grandma and Grandpa. She takes all of her Shopkins to her grandparents' house. I say Grandma and Grandpa, but for the show. Grandparents' house. She takes them all up there. While she's up there, she then plays with all her Shopkins, and at the end of the weekend, she comes back with a bag full of Shopkins, not the way that she left, but it comes back with just kind of a potpourri of her Shopkins. And she tells me, I lost, as she has the past 2 weeks, I've lost the one Shopkin, the $900 Shopkin. Okay. So I'm like, great, it's gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. There's no more panic around it. But I double check and I go into the bag and I discover that actually there is the $900 Shopkin with the marker. So this is what I do. I take it out of the bag, I put it in a box, and I hid it in a shelf. And I told my wife. I said, hey, I found the $900 Shopkin, and I've put it away, and let's just, it is what it is, right? So come 2 days ago, Kayleen, I looked at her and I said, okay, so there's a little, here's where it comes a little bit hazy. I say to her, hey, Kayleen, you must have lost that Shopkin at Grandma's. Case closed, right? I'll just let you live with this idea that you finally lost it and that you lost it at Grandma and Grandpa's. And we're not going to worry about it anymore. But I told my wife, hey, I've actually got it, but I didn't tell my daughter that I actually had it. Because I was getting very sick and tired of the drama. But here's the deal. I'm having a hard time, so you can see all the conflicts right here, right? I've been dealing with a lot of drama over this little tiny Shopkin, which I've been kind of hoping would go away on its own. It actually didn't go away on its own, so I made it go away. I can't necessarily throw it away, because, hey, it's a $900 Shopkin. It's the Shopkin to find. Well, then, come Saturday morning, Kayleen goes up to Grandma and Grandpa's and asks them, hey, did you find that Shopkin that I lost up there? And my wife proceeds to tell Kayleen, actually, Dad found your Shopkin. He gets so convoluted.
Wow, you got thrown under the bus.
And he's got it, right? Oh, I didn't tell my wife. I did not tell my wife that I was keeping it a secret from her. I just said I had it.
Oh.
Right? This is a double lie.
Nicely done. The sin of omission.
So, here's where it gets really awful, Todd. She comes to the room and says, hey, Mom says you've got my Shopkin. And I say, not really.
Oh, my goodness. I hope you brought yourself a ladder, brother, because you're yourself a hole.
Oh, Todd, it's so...
At what point do I jump in and berate you for you?
It's so convoluted. It's so out of control. And the thing is that I then went back to my wife and I said, hey, I don't want her to know that I've got this Shopkin because you have no idea the level of drama that I'm going to have to deal with this once this kid has the Shopkin back in her possession. Because she just gets obsessed over it. Because that's type of her personality type is that way. And she would continue to lose it. And I, quite frankly, Todd, as a parent, I was tired of it. To me, I was trying to weigh the balances here of, do I want another month of no fun around the house dealing with this situation, Or do I just say, oh, I lost it, I never had it, when the truth, I actually do have it? I couldn't balance what the right choice was, because I'm like, either one of them looks awful.
Okay.
And that is the question I sit with. I have not resolved this situation. I still have that Shopkin on the shelf. The question is still in my daughter's head of, I don't know if there's a Shopkin in it. And my wife clearly knows that I have it and is not happy with me.
What does your wife think you should do?
Well, she thinks that I should come straightforward and tell the truth.
Okay.
You should approach Kayleen and basically have a heart-to-heart talk with her and say, here it is. Part of me, though, it's been 2 days now, and there's been no peep about it. And I'm back to that position of, because I looked at my wife and I said, I don't want to have this discussion with you. I don't want to continue on with this, because if that Shopkin comes back into our family, the $900 Shopkin, I'm looking at another month of no fun drama.
It's
and
really
a lot of
worth
heartache.
$900.
It really is. It's ridiculous. It is on eBay right now.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, well, here we are. So that is the question, right? So there are all sorts of things going on in my brain, such as, well, do you lie to your children? Am I concealing this information from her so that I can save her a lot of heartache? Or is it better just to, well, we're going to have heartache and we just need to embrace the heartache, and here comes the drama. I think I'm answering my own question, but I'm still on the fence on it.
Okay. So I guess the thing you have to ask yourself is, why did you not tell her the truth in the first place? I mean, you've talked a little bit about that. You're trying to avoid
You're just trying to break it down.
Yeah,
Right.
You're trying to avoid the drama, which is partially stemming from her immaturity.
Yep.
And partially from you just not wanting to deal with that immaturity, which we all have those issues as parents where we sort of feel like saying to our kids, I don't feel like dealing with you right now at your face.
Right. Correct.
Which is a reasonable feeling, but that's what parenting is to sort of say, all right, you're unreasonable right now, but I made a commitment to raise you, so I'm going to be the adult and just deal with it. So you want me to tell you what to do now?
Well, here's no. Well, it's not that simple. And
Sure
this
it is.
This is the discussion
Sure it
I'll
is.
have with you. No, it's not. And
Of
I'll
course
tell
it
you
is,
why
because
it's not.
Because it's not my life, and so I can just tell you what to do, and then you have to actually deal with it.
Here I bring up this really sensitive subject with you, and all you have to do is berate me.
No. I've got an out for you.
No. I don't want. Well, okay. Here's the deal. So I start evaluating the circumstances in which I have basically been in a situation where I have been, I hate to use the word deceitful, but I haven't been completely honest. Right?
Okay.
This
Right.
happens actually quite a bit throughout the day. I can't say throughout our day. It's like, and making it sound like I lie to my children all the time. But I'm never, it's always difficult to say, hey, you're going to get a timeout for, say, 15 minutes. Or we need to have this happen in 5 minutes. And those times never are exact, right? Like, the timeout could have been 10 minutes, the timeout could have been 20 minutes. And when they're 5 or 6, they have no concept of time. And because they have no concept of time, I've literally had timeouts with my daughter where I've said, you've got to have 10 minutes for a timeout, and gone in after 5 minutes and she thinks it's 10. Right? So there's a circumstance in which, I could sit there and look at the clock and say, yep, it's 10 minutes, and I'm going to be consistent in this every time. But because of the nature of the situation and because of her maturity level, she doesn't understand the nature of time. So time is kind of on my side as a parent when I'm dealing with tough situations with my girls.
Okay, so that's sort of that's sort of a slippery slope from a morality standpoint because you are taking advantage of lack of information, and you're not necessarily doing it in a sinister way. That's different than her asking you a direct question, which, again, you're the parent, but you didn't necessarily have a good reason. You didn't have a great reason to tell her a lie, per se.
Here's the next one. Dad, what am I getting for Christmas this year? Dad, what am I going to get for my birthday this year? I'm not going to tell you that.
That's not a lie.
It is too.
No, it is not.
Because you've bought them something, and you're not telling them specifically what they want. What did you get me? And you're saying, I'm not going to tell you, when you actually did get them something.
Right, but you're not saying, I didn't get you anything.
But they're asking you what they got you. Dad, what did you get me? And you're saying, I'm not going to tell you.
I don't consider that a lie. I consider that. I don't, because.
But you have the answer, but you're not giving them the answer. It's that simple. If you're going to make it black and white, right? You have the answer. You actually have the correct answer, and you're refusing that information.
Well, that's fine.
You're concealing it from them.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that from a parental standpoint because you're not telling them an untruth. You're refusing to answer the question. You're saying, look, I'm the parent. I get to make more rules than you do. I'm not going to answer your question. And if you don't like it, tough. I'll give you one from my own life.
Go ahead.
Well,
your turn.
I have a similar one. My kids over the years, every once in a while, sometimes they talk to their friends, sometimes they're doing a school project, but they'll say to me, how much money do you make?
Right. That's a good one. That's really a good one.
It is. And my standard answer to my kids is enough.
Oh, see, I don't know about that, right? And I'll be honest.
I mean, yeah. Am I playing with words there? Is that a lie?
Right.
It's a little bit of an untruth. It's a sort of a tongue-in-cheek answer. What I'm saying now, I will follow that up sometimes by saying, I don't really want to tell you how much money I make, just because A, you can't necessarily put in context how much money that is. And B, I don't want to really burden you right now with that type of information. Now, as my kids get older, for example, my oldest Emma is 18. She's going to college next year. So we filled out the FAFSA. You familiar with the FAFSA?
Not at all. I don't even know what that is.
It's a form online that you fill out with the federal government that you fill out to sort of say, okay, if we fall into certain income brackets or we have a certain amount of money, then you'll maybe give us grants or we'll be qualified for certain federal loans.
Okay.
Every student that goes to college that wants to get any sort of federal funding has to fill out the FAFSA. What do I have to type into the FAFSA?
I know exactly what you got to type in.
I have to type in my tax information from this year. And in this case, I could have said to her, go away while Daddy types in this information. In this case, I let her know. You know, we talked about it a little bit because she's reached a point now where I can start to talk to her about those sorts of things because I want her to start thinking about, you know, she has a part-time job. She has a bank account. She's had to pay for certain things. So I want her to start to transition into thinking about, okay, what does it look like to make a certain salary? What does it look like to have a certain amount of expenses? When she was younger, I would use the enough answer. Now that she's a little older, I say, okay, you can handle this information. You're not going to run to school and say, guess how much my daddy makes? Because you're kind of beyond that now.
Right. By the way, my father has still not told me. To this day, I don't know.
That's fine. My father hasn't told me either.
You know.
But I haven't asked.
No, I'm pretty being me. I'm sure I asked.
Okay, you want another one from me? We're going to circle back to this, whatever thing it is, Polly Pockets or whatever you've got.
It's
Polly Pockets.
It's
I know
Shopkins, my friend.
Shopkins.
Extremely popular Shopkins.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't have any problem. Keep going, my friend.
Okay, I got another one for you. So my youngest, a couple of years ago, walked into our den where my wife and I were sitting,
Okay.
and she says to no one in particular, I don't know if your kids will do this, but they'll walk into and just ask a question, and it's like whatever adult wants to step up and answer. So she says to no one in particular, is the tooth fairy real? And I just sort of sat there, and my wife says, well, are those presents that you get under your pillow in the morning real?
Right. Right.
And my daughter thought about it and walked out of the room. Is that a lie?
Yes. It's weird. It's weird because we're kind of in the same boat with Santa right now. One of them has said, I don't believe in Santa, and we're going along with that, right? But the other has said, no, I believe in Santa, and we're going along with that.
Right.
Right? So, and then the other one is trying to convince the other one that Santa does exist. Then we amped up the ante because we're like, well, we like the Santa thing. So we watched Santa on NORAD this year. I don't know if you've watched that.
Nope.
You can track Santa across the globe via some web app.
Of course you can.
And it's actually, I believe, I could be very wrong about this, it's actually done by the government. Like, it's sort of like a fun thing that the government does. And you can download the app and you can track Santa. And when my eldest saw this, she was a believer at that point.
Okay.
Like, oh my gosh, they're really tracking Santa. The government is doing this.
I think the thing that I think about with my kids is, because we should sort of give people some guidance here. I think what I try to do is, if I don't tell them the truth, sometimes I will go with what you said, where I just say, I'm not going to tell you. And if they say, why not? If I can explain why not without giving it away, I will. Sometimes I'll just sort of say, because I'm not. And if they don't like it, okay. To be a good parent, you have to be willing to disappoint your kids every once in a while. You don't go out of your way to disappoint your kids, but you have to realize that at some point you're going to say, look, I'm not going to tell you, or you wouldn't understand. I try not to say that you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, I hated that one growing up.
I try not to say that.
Right.
There are times where I have told my kids things and just left out details. I've been a little vague.
Well, here's one. So the sex question came up for my 6-year-old.
Okay.
And it could get very clinical at that point, right?
Yes.
What I told my daughter was I said, Mom and Dad get together and have a special hug. Which is something that she can... It is.
I think we just crossed a line with the podcast.
But it's an alternate answer that is not the full-on detailed information that you're probably going to have to get when they're saying.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Because
9 or 10.
even if you did try to explain it and be totally honest and upfront and transparent, they're not going to get it.
Well, they could get that information. My problem is I'm not sure what she would do with that information,
right.
Which leads me back to the problem that I have at hand right now. If I give this Shopkin back to her, which the problem is, there's so many multiple layers here. She bought it with her own money. She earned it. She really did. It's clearly hers. And she has, it's so weird because I'm like, what, kids' rights? Like, she's under my roof?
No, she doesn't. She's 6.
Right.
She's 6.
But at the same time...
you can grant her those, and you can try to be consistent with those.
Sure, and that's what I'm trying to do.
That's noble. But...
Yeah, again...
Do you feel like making deals with her?
Of course. I strike deals with my kids all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. We have negotiations all the time. And I know you do too.
How precious is this... How precious is this thing really to her?
Well, okay. Again, I don't really remember what it was like being 6 years old. I do remember having anxiety around things, right?
Okay.
Like, but a concept like, hey, this thing is worth $900. If she really understood that, she'd probably be trying to sell it on eBay right now, right? Or taking action in some way, right?
So, I mean, I guess that's where, again, you have to decide where you're going to meet her in the middle in terms of you being the parent still, but her understanding sort of where she is. I do think you have to tell her the truth.
Well, right now, I don't have to do anything. That's the deal.
You don't have to.
Right?
I think you should tell her the truth, and I think you can explain to her. I think you can say, here's why. It's not just to justify your untruth, but it is to say, here's why I was hesitant to tell you the truth. Because of the anxiety, and because, you were worrying about this, and because you weren't really enjoying it. And I think you can I think you could even say to her, maybe Dad shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have just told you right away that I had it. Because we can still, even though we're the parent, we also have to be people to our kids and model apologies, even if we felt like we had a good reason for it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's resolving in my head is that the reason that I decided to keep the Shopkin and conceal it was to avoid the drama. But as I'm processing right now with you, can I ever actually avoid the drama?
Well, sure you can. You can.
Well, but what I'm saying is, if it's not the $900 Shopkin this week, it's going to be something else next week, right?
Right. But
am I going to continue to just take things away from her to, right? Like, if I start down this road and things are getting tough, then hey, things kind of disappear here and there, and we don't have to deal with it anymore, right?
Right, but again, that's part of the challenge of parenting is we will deal with this. I mean, and part of it is about communication. Because like I remember when my kids were younger, I would say to them, hey, if I find, and we wouldn't get these very often, but occasionally, go to McDonald's, get a Happy Meal toy or something like that. And I would say to them, hey, if I find this toy lying in the hallway, discarded by you, it's going straight in the trash.
Right. Did that always go? Did that always happen?
No, but sometimes I would, and I'd pick it
you know
up,
what?
and I'd throw it in the trash, and I wouldn't then go back to them and say, by the way, I'm just notifying you. Here's your official notification, and here's me throwing it in the trash.
Okay, gotcha.
I would say, look, I told them, and if they ever come back to me and say, where's that thing? I say, hey, I threw it in the trash. I told you that. That's the tough lesson to learn within a very manageable space.
Sure.
So
versus what my parents were hoping that someday I would wreck the Laguna and then I wouldn't be driving anymore.
Right.
It's always weird because I'm like, secretly, there's a part of your brain that says, hey, if she just loses that Shopkin, then I don't have to deal with it anymore and it's gone. Which was my hope, but then I discovered it and then tried to fabricate an instance in which, hey, it's gone. Too bad.
See, I'm thinking about things on the other end of the spectrum right now because with my daughter going to college, we're trying to scrape together as much money as possible to cover college tuition. And so I look at that Shopkin and I say to you, dude, sell that thing on eBay.
Right. For Emma.
Put the bulk of the money in a account for her. When she is 18, she will go, Dad, you were a genius to do that. As opposed to, because if you go to her and go, oh yeah, I just waited for you to lose a $900 Shopkin so I wouldn't have to deal with the drama.
Right.
She would say, Dad, you moron, why didn't you sell that thing? I mean, make a deal with her. Sell it on eBay, give her a portion of the proceeds, let her go back to the store and buy a half dozen more Shopkins.
Can I say that is so Dutch of you?
Well, it is not Dutch with me. It's American. It's America.
No, it is not.
You got a little piece of plastic.
No, no.
$900.
How dare you say that about my plastic Kirk? Huh? My plastic Spock. Different strokes for different folks, bub.
Sell that thing. Tell her the truth.
You and I are on the exact same page. I do see
the deal, sell the thing, let her buy a few more. She'll move on, and she'll thank you in the long run.
Oh my
This is
gosh.
parental wisdom stepping in.
I can tell you this. Okay, that's a difference of opinion. For
Okay.
sure. Because if I had discovered, because some of my Legos are nearing $500 right now, right? My Lego sets from a kid. Like my space Legos are like $400 to $500, and I've got them all perfectly in their boxes. I'm not selling them. They're mine. I love them, right? I'm the guy that would, right? So it's weird, right? But it's
Yeah.
I've got to try to assess it. The deal is, though, is what you're saying, and I think we as all would agree as parents is that Dave needs to work out how to communicate with Kayleen concerning the situation. Are you saying that you would have the talk with her? Would you reveal that you actually have the Shopkin and that you're going to sell it?
I think at this point, I guess it depends on the relationship you have. I mean, if you really did allow her to buy this and really do allow her to collect, maybe this is a strong suggestion to her. Again, let her make the decision.
I think that's where I sit with it.
I mean, now again, the hard part is to put that in context. How much do these things cost at the store?
$3.25.
Okay. You can't necessarily go to her and say, hey, guess what? If we sell this thing, you could go to the store and buy 300 of them.
I know. I've already had that discussion in my mind.
You don't want to go down that road. And
No. Hey,
to our whole point of things, to our whole point of things of being honest, yeah, that would be a piece of information that you would again omit because she can't necessarily put in context how much money that is.
Right. Unless
she's not doing times tables yet.
Yeah, and I could totally divulge all the information that she needs. I could basically translate it for her. By the way, Kayleen, you could buy 500 more Shopkins with the proceeds that you make from the selling of this one Shopkin. That might be appealing to her brain, right, at this point.
Right. Or you could just sort of frame it as, hey, why don't we sell this one and then we'll take some of the money and buy 10 more. Or 5.
Right. It's actually that's not a bad suggestion. Actually, not a bad suggestion. I like that.
Yeah, and then we'll start selling your Lego sets.
No, we're not.
Just wait till they go to college.
Nope.
You need some funding. Then we'll talk again.
Did you sell your Ferrari phone?
I think my Ferrari phone just kind of got tossed due to
Shame.
malfunction at some point.
Shame.
I don't think that had great value.
Hey, as we're nearing the end of the, do we have resolve for this? I think we're close to it. Yes.
I think it's a good principle to try to tell your kids the truth, but I think it's also truth to tell them sometimes. I'm not going to give that information right now. I don't see that as a lie.
Yeah, or what I hear both you and I saying is that augmenting the information for their consumption,
yes, and
is
for their
actually
stage of life,
is an okay thing to do, right? Because what you're saying is that Emma would never understand how much you're getting paid, but what you sold her was, hey, I get paid enough. But by the time she's like 18, she's in a different boat at this point and more mature to handle the information.
Right.
And to that point, you divulge it all, right?
Right. And I think you also, you talked about anxiety. When you talk about things that are going on in the world, people that that are sick, when there's crime in the world, when there's, natural disasters and wars and threats and all that kind of good stuff. You can give your kids bits and pieces of the information, but you also got to say, look, I may just create anxiety here without actually creating knowledge or perspective. So for me to just come home and say, hey, kids, guess what? There's all this terrible stuff going on in the world. That's not necessarily something you want to volunteer until they're sort of ready to hear some of that.
Yep.
So we good?
Well, what I wanted to know was, has your daughter made a college decision yet?
No, she's not.
Oh, man. How much more time does she have?
She has 7 weeks.
7 weeks? Oh, my gosh. You must be on pins and needles.
Yeah, a little bit. But I'm the calm, steady one in the podcast,
that is
right?
True.
So
that
I
is
to
true.
maintain that. Folks, we'd love it if you'd interact with our wondrous social media outlets. You can follow us on Twitter, Parent Mistakes. You can like us on Facebook, Parenting Mistakes. You can email the show, parentingmistakes@hotmail.com. You can support us on Patreon. I was supposed to say something PBS-like. It's because of supporters like you. Okay?
Right.
And in addition to Podomatic and iTunes, you can also pick up all of our episodes now on YouTube.
Wow, we're spending like, what, a whole 2 minutes talking about our media outlets now.
I know.
I mean, that's so much
That was
access.
that was like 90 seconds. I know, right?
It's true. But it's good. We're everywhere.
We are everywhere. All right, we're going to wrap up. Dave is going to go post something on eBay, and I'm going to go talk to my daughter about the Tooth Fairy.